October 17, 2008. The first snowfall of the season dusted the quiet town of Millfield, Massachusetts. Sarah and James Thornton rushed to Millfield Memorial Hospital as Sarah went into labor 6 weeks early. Their third child, a boy they would name Lucas, entered the world at 3:42 a.m. weighing just 4 pounds 8 ounces. The attending physician, Dr. Elaine Weber, immediately noted something unusual. The infant had distinctive facial features and a bluish tint to his skin that suggested potential health concerns. "I knew something was wrong the moment I saw him," Sarah would later tell investigators. The room went quiet, and the doctors exchanged those looks that parents dread. Lucas was quickly transferred to the neonatal intensive care unit, where preliminary tests revealed a rare congenital heart defect and several genetic anomalies. When the Thorntons' pediatrician, Dr. Raymond Chen, reviewed the results, he was struck by the similarity to another patient in his practice, Emma Thornton, Lucas's 5-year-old sister, who had been diagnosed with a similar but milder condition shortly after birth. The Thorntons' middle child, 3-year-old Nathan, had been born without complications and showed no signs of genetic abnormalities. The family's medical history, as provided by Sarah and James, indicated no known genetic disorders on either side. Both parents were from seemingly unrelated families with no history of intermarriage or consanguinity. Dr. Chen recommended genetic counseling and additional testing for the entire family. "The particular constellation of symptoms we're seeing in Lucas and Emma is extremely rare," he explained to the distraught parents. "These conditions often have a hereditary component that can remain dormant for generations. What began as a medical investigation would soon uncover a family mystery that had been carefully concealed for over a century." The case would ultimately involve not only medical professionals, but also genealogists, historians, and even the county clerk's office as they pieced together a fragmented family history that had been deliberately obscured. The Thornton family appeared typical on the surface. James worked as a high school history teacher, while Sarah managed a local bookstore. They had moved to Millfield from Chicago 6 years earlier, shortly before Emma's birth. Both were college-educated, with no remarkable medical history, though Sarah had mentioned that her maternal grandmother died young of heart troubles, a detail that would later prove significant. The family lived in a modest colonial home on Maple Street, well maintained with a large oak tree in the front yard, where the children would play during summer months. Neighbors described them as private but friendly, involved in community events, but not particularly forthcoming about their extended family. As Lucas fought for his life in the NICU, medical staff noted another concerning detail. His blood type didn't match what would be expected based on his parents' blood types. While this could be explained by rare genetic variations, it added another layer to the growing medical mystery. What the Thorntons couldn't have known was that the answers to their children's medical conditions wouldn't be found in modern genetic testing alone, but in the yellowed pages of a diary that had disappeared decades earlier, a diary that contained secrets their families had worked diligently to bury. If you want to follow more cases like this, that shake entire communities and reveal hidden truths, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any investigation. The genetic testing ordered by Dr. Chen revealed disturbing results. Both Lucas and Emma shared a unique pattern of genetic markers consistent with a condition known as Marfan-Stickler syndrome, an extremely rare variant that affects connective tissue, heart valves, and facial development. What perplexed the medical team was the specific mutation identified, one so uncommon that it had only been documented in a handful of cases worldwide, all within related family groups. "These results suggest a common ancestor carrying this mutation," explained Dr. Victoria Winters, the genetic counselor assigned to the Thornton case. "The probability of this occurring randomly in 2 unrelated family lines is virtually impossible." The implication was clear but troubling. Despite their insistence to the contrary, Sarah and James must share some common ancestry. When confronted with this possibility, both expressed genuine shock and disbelief. "There's absolutely no way we're related," James insisted. "My family came from Ireland to Boston in the 1890s. Sarah's family has been in Illinois since the Civil War. We met in college, complete strangers." Sarah nodded in agreement. "This has to be a mistake. Why I've traced our family trees for a heritage project just a few years ago. There's no connection." Dr. Winters remained unconvinced. "The genetic evidence is compelling. The The specific mutation we're seeing has a distinctive signature that suggests the common ancestor lived relatively recently, perhaps within the last 4 to 5 generations. With the Thorntons' reluctant permission, the hospital brought in Dr. Marcus Sullivan, a medical geneticist specializing in rare hereditary disorders. Sullivan took a more comprehensive approach, requesting that extended family members also provide DNA samples for analysis. The investigation faced immediate obstacles. Sarah's parents had both passed away in a car accident when she was in college. James's father was deceased, and his mother, Eleanor Thornton, now 78, initially refused to participate, citing privacy concerns. James's only sibling, a brother named Michael, lived overseas and was difficult to contact. After considerable persuasion, Eleanor finally agreed to provide a DNA sample, but remained evasive about family history beyond what James already knew. "Some things are better left in the past," she told her son, cryptically. The investigation stalled for several months, as Lucas slowly improved and was eventually released from the hospital. The family adjusted to their new normal, managing 2 children with special medical needs while trying to provide a stable environment for all 3 kids. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. While renovating their attic in preparation for converting it into a bedroom for the growing children, James discovered a hidden compartment behind a false wall. Inside was a small trunk containing old photographs, letters, and most significantly, a leather-bound diary dated 1897-1923, belonging to Eleanor Campbell, Sarah's great-grandmother. "I'd never seen these items before," Sarah explained to investigators. "My mother had mentioned that her grandmother kept a diary, but she believed it had been lost in a house fire in the 1960s. The diary remained unopened as Sarah contacted her only surviving relative on her mother's side, a great-aunt named Margaret, living in a nursing home in Chicago. At 92, Margaret's memory was fragile, but her reaction to news of the diary was unmistakable. She became extremely agitated, Sarah recalled. She kept saying, "It was supposed to be destroyed. Promise me you won't read it. Some secrets need to stay buried." This reaction only intensified the mystery, prompting the Thorntons to carefully examine the diary's contents. What they found would send shockwaves through both sides of their family and explain the genetic time bomb that had affected their children. The investigation took another turn when Dr. Sullivan, having obtained DNA samples from Eleanor Thornton and tissue samples preserved from Sarah's parents after their accident, made a startling discovery. There was indeed a genetic link between the families, one that suggested a shared ancestor much more recent than either family had acknowledged. As medical professionals worked to understand the genetic puzzle, the Thorntons began the painful process of reconstructing their true family history, guided by the diary that had been hidden away for decades. The diary of Eleanor Campbell began innocuously enough, with the daily observations of a young woman in late 19th century America. Born in 1880, Eleanor documented her life in a small mining community in western Pennsylvania, where her father served as the company doctor. The early entries described a typical life of the period: social gatherings, church activities, and the struggles of a community dependent on the volatile coal industry. The tone shifted dramatically in entries from 1898, when 18-year-old Eleanor wrote about meeting a young mining engineer named Thomas Wright. Their courtship was brief and intense, conducted largely in secret due to her father's disapproval. The reason became clear in an entry dated September 3, 1898. "Father finally revealed the truth today, after finding my letters from Thomas. The Wrights and Campbells share blood. Thomas's grandmother and my grandfather were siblings who became estranged after a land dispute. Father says such unions are forbidden by both law and God. I care not for either prohibition. Thomas and I will leave tomorrow for West Virginia, where no one knows our connection." Subsequent entries documented their secret marriage and relocation to a mining town in Illinois, where they changed their surname to Miller and fabricated new identities. Eleanor gave birth to 3 children between 1899 and 1905. Her second child, a daughter named Rose, born in 1902, was Sarah's grandmother. The diary noted with growing concern that their firstborn son developed troubling health problems: heart palpitations, vision difficulties, and unusual facial features that Eleanor feared might reveal their secret. The most disturbing entries came after the birth of their third child. April 15, 1905, Little Joseph was born with the same affliction as William. Dr. Stevens noticed the similarity immediately and asked uncomfortable questions about our family history. Thomas invented a story about a congenital condition in his mother's family, but I fear the doctor suspects the truth. We must move again before rumors start. The family relocated to Chicago, changing their name once more to Bennett. Thomas died suddenly of heart failure in 1912, leaving Eleanor to maintain their web of deception alone. The diary described her growing paranoia and determination to protect her children from the stigma of their parents' consanguineous union. Most revealing was her systematic effort to erase their true history. November 8, 1917. I have destroyed all photographs and documents connecting us to our former lives. The children know nothing of their true heritage, and it must remain so. I have instructed Rose that should she marry, she must never reveal our family's medical history. Better to attribute any afflictions to bad luck than risk exposing our shame. The final entries, written in a shakier hand as Eleanor aged, expressed both regret and determination. January 1st, 1923. As this new year begins, I pray that our secret dies with me. The children have their own lives now, with new names and histories I have carefully constructed. The past is buried as it should be. This diary is my final confession. When I am gone, it too should be destroyed. The diary ended there, though Eleanor Campbell, now known as Eleanor Bennett, would live until 1945. For the Thorntons, these revelations explained the genetic link that had puzzled medical experts. Through painstaking genealogical research, they discovered that James's family tree also traced back to the Wright family. His great-grandfather had changed the family name to Thornton upon immigrating to America, but was in fact the nephew of Thomas Wright, making James and Sarah distant cousins, sharing the ancestors who had been siblings. The probability of them meeting randomly was astronomical, Dr. Sullivan explained. Yet in a country as mobile as the United States, with families that changed names and locations multiple times, it happened. Leave in the comments. Never give up on the truth if you believe all hidden family histories deserve to be uncovered. The full implications of the diary's revelations extended far beyond the Thornton family. Genetic testing of extended family members revealed that the Marfan-Stickler mutation had been passed down through multiple branches of the family tree, affecting descendants who had no knowledge of their shared ancestry. Dr. Sullivan identified 17 living individuals across 3 states carrying the mutation, including 5 who had already developed symptoms but had no diagnosis. Medical alerts were issued to family members, potentially saving lives through early intervention and monitoring. For Sarah and James, the truth brought a complex mix of emotions. At first, I felt horrified, Sarah admitted. The idea that we were related, even distantly, seemed like something from a Victorian novel. But as we learned more about our ancestors, I began to understand the context of their choices and the lengths they went to protect their children. James found himself in the uncomfortable position of confronting his mother about her knowledge of the family history. Eleanor Thornton finally acknowledged that she had heard rumors about a family secret, but the details had been deliberately kept from her. My father told me once that there had been trouble with the bloodline generations back, she explained, but he said it had been diluted enough that it no longer mattered. I never connected it to the children's conditions. The Millfield County Historical Society became involved in documenting the case, recognizing its significance for understanding how family secrets and identity concealment played out in American history. Researchers noted that while consanguineous marriages were strongly discouraged in American society by the late 19th century, they occurred more frequently than official records suggest, particularly in isolated communities. What makes the Campbell-Wright case remarkable is the extraordinary effort to erase the evidence, explained Dr. Amelia Richardson, a historian specializing in family structures of the period. We've documented 3 name changes, relocations across 4 states, and the systematic destruction of records, all to protect children from stigma. For Lucas and Emma Thornton, the discovery led to improved medical care. Understanding the exact nature of their genetic condition allowed doctors to implement targeted treatments and monitoring protocols. By age 2, Lucas had undergone 2 successful heart surgeries and was thriving. Emma's milder symptoms were carefully managed with medication and physical therapy. The most profound change came in the family's relationship with their history. Rather than continuing the pattern of secrecy, Sarah and James chose transparency, carefully explaining to their children the complexity of their family tree as they grew old enough to understand. We want them to know that while their health challenges have a specific origin, there's no shame in that history, Sarah explained. Our ancestors made choices based on the limited options they had. We can acknowledge that without judgment. The case prompted the Millfield Memorial Hospital to establish new protocols for identifying potential consanguinity in patients with rare genetic disorders. Dr. Weber, who had delivered Lucas, developed a screening system that has since been adopted by several other medical centers. What the Thornton case teaches us is that family history isn't always what it appears to be. Dr. Weber noted, "Secrets don't disappear. They manifest in unexpected ways, sometimes generations later." Today, the Thornton children are thriving despite their medical challenges. Emma, now a teenager, has become an advocate for genetic counseling and speaks openly about her family's unusual history. Nathan, who did not inherit the mutation, has developed an interest in genealogy and helps other families research their medical histories. Lucas, though still requiring regular cardiac monitoring, lives an active life with few restrictions. The diary that revealed the truth now rests in the Millfield Historical Society archive, with copies provided to medical researchers studying the inheritance patterns of rare genetic disorders. Eleanor Campbell's final wish that her secret die with her went unfulfilled, but the revelation of that secret ultimately saved lives and brought healing rather than shame to her descendants. As one chapter of family secrecy closed, a new chapter of understanding and acceptance opened, proving that while genes may carry the imprint of the past, how we respond to that legacy remains firmly in our hands. If you watched this far, it's because you care about these cases that mark families forever. Leave a comment saying, "I watched until the end," so I can get to know you and know who really cares about the search for truth. Like this video if you found this family history investigation compelling, and share it with anyone interested in genetic mysteries and family secrets. Subscribe to the channel for more remarkable stories that reveal how the past shapes our present in unexpected ways.